was very much interested in learning digital marketing course for a very long period of time, but I don't get a proper platform. So later from our college, I get to know about XLR and I enrolled in XLR course. It was really good experience. Our course has been taken by Mayur sir, and he was very good teacher. He's not only focusing on theory part, he's doing how real digital marketing works. And it was in total very good experience. I get so much of knowledge. Here they're not only focusing on study, they're also conducting different exams to test our knowledge. And as we are giving the exam, so to appreciate our work, they give certificates for the toppers, and along with the certificate they give hampers. Thank you, XLR.
Recently I was searching for digital marketing courses online in Google, and I came across XLR and I attended a digital marketing course which was for 15 days. My mentor Mayur helped me for attending these classes. So he is a very informative and helpful guy. In the course end, there is a exam which I topped, so I came to the XLR office in Bengaluru. This digital marketing course has helped my career and my skills to develop, and the certificate has helped my company to join. Thank you, XLR.
I came to know about this course from my college. Actually, for learning platform, this is very nice, and I learned from here ChatGPT and AI from online. Because he's teaching for me for AI generative and ChatGPT. We are using this technology in more. And after finishing the courses, I came for collecting the certificate. I seen the classrooms and faculties. Classroom is very nice. After the completion of exam, they will give gift and certificates. Thank you, XLR, for giving these courses. I learned a lot from this. I gained the more knowledge from here. And thank you for XLR for teaching us.
Hello guys, I'm Vikram Mahajan and I'm studying in Swami Vivekananda Institute of Technology College, and I came across a training program which was mobile app development using Flutter, which was given to us by XLR Solutions. I came across this program through my college faculty, who told us about this program, that it is a very good course and you should enroll in this course. So I enrolled in this course, and initially I felt really good about this course because they started everything from a very basic point of view, that even if someone who doesn't know anything about Flutter or anything about mobile app development can also learn the same way the ones who know about it are learning. So no student was left behind and everyone was given equal attention. All the doubts throughout the course were cleared. And if we had any questions also, we were like, the trainer was also ready to stay for a longer time than it was scheduled, even for the sake of doubts. So that shows how important the students are to them. So it was a really good experience with XLR's program, and by the end of the training program, I was able to develop my own application. And through the development also, there was another point. Yeah, so our sir taught us about how we can connect our own mobile phone to our laptop and write code in our laptop, and you can see the output in your phone. It was really creative and interesting for me. I felt really good about that. So in the end, I developed my own mobile application. I showed it to my mother, I showed it to my friends. I felt really good about it. So I would really suggest XLR. I would recommend it to all my friends to take courses from here, as they focus on the children, focus on the students, and they focus on what's necessary, that is the students' doubts gets cleared and everything else. So today I came down to the XLR office to collect my certificate. So I got to know about what other courses XLR is offering. It included data analysis, data analyst, social media marketing, and full stack Java, and many more courses which were interesting, and they gave us an insight of how everything happens, and they take you through the course from the starting of the course to the end, and what next, that is placements as well. How you should be going into the interviews and how you should be approaching to companies, your resume building, and there were so many things which XLR is going to help you in, and they are ready to give you all the knowledge required even if you are a beginner. So I really felt good about this visit, and I would really recommend XLR to everyone who's listening to this, and also to all my friends, that I had a very good experience with XLR, and I would suggest you to experience the same. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Satish and I am from Swami Vivekananda Institute of Technology. I am here to share my experience about XLR program. I took part in the XLR program that was conducted in the last month about the mobile app development using Flutter. What I liked the most about this session was the trainer started from the scratch. That means even the beginner who don't know about the basics of the program, even they can learn the most from this program. It gave me hands-on experience by developing a project which was the final outcome. Thank you XLR for giving me this opportunity, and I would also recommend all my friends to take part in the XLR programs. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So we'll start the session in a while.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, Amita, you can start the session.
Okay. So in the last session, what we have done, we will revise the concept once, and then we'll continue with the next part, right? So if you remember, we came to know about what is Node. We installed Node, right? And then we got to understand on how to use the packages as well, right? So if you remember, we have understood that since 2009, this particular runtime environment, that is nothing but Node, which is embedded into C++ program, has come into picture, and it helps with its ecosystem. It is helping the developers to build the applications a bit faster, right? We installed Node. We started to use a few of the packages, right? We observed that whenever we want to install a published package, we should install it using npm I, the package name, right? So else we were using one core module. When I was showing you with the document, that is nothing but HTTP, which is one of the core module and which is internally used by the Express as well, right? We'll see those details in a while. So whenever we were using HTTP, we didn't install it. We could see that we could use it, right? We understood what is package.json, and then we understood what is when we first install a package, we get to we get to two more structure inside our project folder, right? We got to understand these all, right? So after that, I have discussed with you like what is a REST API, right? Because we see request and response cycle whenever the user requests a particular page, we get a response. We understood that in, a traditional way, but we also understood like what happens when frequent request and response, how the things will be handled, how the load will be handled, or how many such kind of frequent request and response can be handled using Node. We discussed about it, right? So we will see like what is REST API. And I mean to say we understood what it is, but we will create it today after a while, right? So we were discussing about HTTP module, and we were, we have created a server, right? We have just rendered a plain text, right? So till here, I guess everyone are here. So we just, what did we do? We have imported this particular, okay, we have imported this particular HTTP core module and started to create a server, right? So whenever you try to hover over here, you can see it accepts two things, like it accepts one callback, right? So inside this callback, what did we write? We have written some headers, or you can say we have used a method called write header, through which this particular write header is a method which accepts few things. Right now you can see over here, right? So what does it accept? It accepts the status message. It accepts the status code. It accepts the status message as a string if you want to pass it as an extra. This could be, as an optional as well. And then what did we understood? We have understood that we can, send a particular JSON, what type of data that we are sending as a response, so that the user will be able to understand. So this particular message will be shown on the browser when you right click and go to that particular network. It shows 200, right? And that's what we have observed. Now today what we will do, we'll try to understand how to send different types of data, right? So for that, on that day we were discussing that we will be sending a particular JSON format. So when you send a JSON format, what happens? It's nothing but a JSON object like in plain JavaScript. I mean, when we try to use the JSON object inside the JavaScript, right? So for that, what we will do, we'll try to create a particular variable called, any particular variable we can say. Now, what do we want? We want this particular thing to be, we want some JSON object to be installed. I mean, should be rendered on this particular page. So whenever we try to check the output using this particular server, wherever it is listening, the port that we have mentioned, we want the JSON object to be rendered onto the page, right? So while we try to render this particular ones, so what we will do, we'll try to install it. I mean, we'll try to use this particular object that is nothing but first name and then right. So whenever we try to use this particular object, what happens over here? We want this particular, let's take a different variable over here, right? So whenever we try to create a particular object over here, so what we want it to be rendered on the page. Now, what did we do on that day? First of all, we have seen that this is one way of importing the modules in, the node. I told there are two modules. We'll see those. This is one way of importing the module. So we have imported the core module, that is HTTP. And then what did we have done? We have used that particular variable and we have created the server. So this has taken the callback and we have written some header and then ended that particular request response cycle. Now it is very much important to use that particular variable wherever we have created the server and try to listen to a port. Why? Because this is the port from where we are trying to request to the server. So we have used this method to listen to the port, right? So we have created a particular JSON object over here. Let's try to use it. So to render it, what we will do, we'll try to write the header first. There are two ways of doing this. I will show you in a while. So right now, if you use this particular method called write header or write head, you can say, right? So over here, the very first it is taking is nothing but 200, or you can say the status method, the status number and the status string that you want. So you can just observe over here, the right head is taking 200 as a status code, and then we can, give our text type. Okay, there are many other properties that we can give. But right now we are trying to give only the status code and then the content type. So if you say the content type, right? So you can see we have these many key value pairs that we can give, right? So content and then the type. So for that part, it is very much important to follow this thing over here, and we have to place it inside the double quotes. Okay, it should be capital letter that I have told you on that day. And then what we have to do, we have to give it as a JSON object, right? So over here, it is content type, and that is nothing but JSON, right? So this also should be in string format, right? So application and then /JSON. So we have written the header, and then what we want to do, we want to end that request response cycle. So to end it, response.end, we are ending it over here with a particular message, right? So till here we have done the same thing. Let us check on how this particular JSON object will be rendered. Okay, so we are over here. So how to run it? That is nothing but node and the file name, right? So whenever we see over here, you can observe check it over here. So it is nothing but so we are into the folder, and where we have this as 404 not found right now, it is showing up, right? So what could be the reason for that? Let me just check it over. Okay. So on that day, I have told you, right? So whenever we were trying to send the JSON object, what did I say? That's nothing but it is giving some kind of error right now. What is that error? It is nothing but unhandled error event. So why it is giving in that way? Because we are sending the JSON object, right? So whenever we are trying to send the JSON object over here, so we have sent it as a string over here, right? So what is the JSON object that we have sent, that we have created? It is nothing but, with a variable called man, right? So still, one more time, let me run and let us check it. So you can see that I guess I've shown you on that day as well. Still, it doesn't, right? It shows 404 not found. So in that case, what does it mean? Whenever we are sending this particular JSON object, what we have to do, we have to stringify it, right? So we have to stringify it. So for that, we will use this particular method called JSON.stringify. So the JSON object that we are trying to send should be stringified and then it should be sent, right? So only and only then it will be rendering the JSON value. Okay. So let me introduce one more package called NodeMon. Okay. So whenever we try to rerun our page, so if you are using NodeMon, what happens? We no need to rerun that particular server, right? So in this way, we can try to render the JSON data as well. So similar way, whenever we are trying to send some HTML page, we can replace this particular ones with the HTML file name. Okay. So that way we can send the HTML and the type would be the HTML that we will be sending. Clear about this? So let's try to use one more package. Any doubt till here on how to use with the JSON? Let's use one package called npm install NodeMon. Now what this NodeMon is trying will do, this particular NodeMon package, it will help us, as I've told you, it stops rerunning our code. Whenever we make some changes, what happens? It will allow us to check the output by just refreshing the browser. Okay. So we can install that particular package. So it doesn't install in our dependencies, but it is there. So whenever you want to run your particular file, in that case, you have to use, from now on, you can use the NodeMon. Okay, and file name. So there are some other process that we can do in the package. We can, in the scripts file, we can do few things, but later on we can do. But now we will be using directly the node. Okay. So till here. Now. So I was discussing about HTTP. We have seen how to send the plain text and the JSON object. Now let me show you one more way of setting few headers. Okay, after that we will see on how to create servers in an easier way, and what is the benefit of using it. Right? So any doubts still here? Are you okay? I mean to say, did you get this particular thing? Okay, fine. Anyone? So what we will do, we'll try to create one more server and I will show you few differences on using few methods. Okay. So let's try to revise few things now again. So import HTTP from HTTP module, right? So let's create it. HTTP dot create server. Using create server, we will create this particular server, right? Which has request and response, right? Now, here you observe. So we will be storing this particular server inside a variable, right? So till here, I guess this is clear. Okay. So let's listen to one code. So fine. So now what we will do, there is another way of setting few headers and ending the request response cycle. Okay. So let me show you. So if we want to set the headers by using write head, in that case, what we will do, we'll give the status code and then we will, set the headers as a JSON object. But whenever we try to set the headers using set header method, in that case, we can directly give as a, this is like X and it's nothing but it is its value. So we can give it in, comma notation, right? So it means this is the key and this is the value. So again, what we will do, we'll try to write some string, or you want to send an HTML, or you want to send a JSON object, then you will be again using write method to send that. And at the end, obviously, like earlier, how we have done it to end it, we will be ending it using the end method itself. So these are few differences that you can do with create server whenever we are trying to create a server using HTTP module. Okay, so internally we are using the HTTP module of the node itself. Right. So let us see on how to set the headers like this with the plain text first, and then we will observe with the HTML right now. Right. So how to do it, so that you'll get an idea on how to do with the HTML part as well. So right now, as I've told you here, it is nothing but the response dot over here, as you are using set header, right? So whenever you are trying to use set header over here, so in that case, what you can do, you can directly set the content type and then the text as HTML. Earlier, what did we do? We have used text slash plain. So here, what you can do, content type can be text slash HTML type. So in that way, we can send the files as a response, right? So the similar way, and then, okay, so this is one thing, and we want to write. You can write, the entire file. You can make .html file as a separate, and we will be obviously sending it. But right now, I'm just showing you with one particular tag over here. So we can create the HTML like this and send it as a response. So response dot end. What did I say? One more important thing. You have to remember that whenever we are using HTTP module, we will use end method. Okay. So these are few things as on how to create the server over here. So in this way, you can send multiple HTML files as a response, right? So in that way, let us try to check this, and then we will move to the other part. File name is so in this way we can send the HTML files as well. You can create a .html file, and then you can send it as a string over here. Okay. So we'll see those all. There are few ways of sending those things, more easier way of doing those things. So right now you can just send the HTML file like this. There are few concepts that will help us to send the data more easier, or HTML file more easier. I hope this was clear on how to use HTTP module on sending plain text, JSON object, and some HTML file. Any doubt till here? Yes, any one of you? Any doubt till here? Should we move ahead? Now, what we will be discussing, we'll be discussing on what is that architecture that node follows. So we discussed about few of the modules. That is nothing but, HTTP module right now, which is a core one, and how to install the packages. But internally, how node is going to work, and how the express, what is express, and how express is going to use node and do the things bit more easier way. What is the benefit of using express as well? So we'll discuss those all. So whenever the node project or whenever the node execution starts, what happens? Whenever the request starts, or you can say a client requests a particular resource, then what happens? The node has few flow structure that it can say, you can say. So it is nothing but whatever the request comes, it places them inside a event queue. Okay. So inside the event queue, it is nothing but whenever the stack is empty, it is going to check with few things, like it is going to check with the call stack. If it is empty, it is going to place all the requests inside this event queue. Okay. So from the event queue, this event loop is going to initiate few things, that is the timer functions, you can say. Okay, so basically this event loop is going to check whether that particular event comes under blocking operation or non-blocking operation. Now, this particular process, what is blocking and non-blocking operation, right? So this particular process is nothing but non-blocking operations comes under input-output operations. Like for example, if we have requested something and it no need to, go into some external resources. For example, it needs to fetch some file, read some data. For example, it needs to go to the database and fetch some records. So these are nothing but blocking operations. So node has the capacity, or it has the ability to, divide the events like this. Now, whenever we talk about events in front end part, we talk events is nothing but whenever we click on a button, we say that it is nothing but an event. And, we have, such kind of different events when we look at the front end part. But when we talk about the events, there are few events. These are nothing but, the file opening or reading the data from the database. So everything will be, thought as an event at the back. So these are the events that we talk about, at the back end. So whenever, this event loops comes up with this particular, events that it has, come up from the event queue. So what it has a capacity of invoking the timer functions as well. So the timer functions is nothing but like set timeout, set interval. So what does it does? It is nothing but the async operations. So at the background, so it initiates those things and it starts working on the non-blocking operations as well, right? So in that case, what happens? Non-blocking operation or non-blocking requests are handled then and there. So as they are separated, node is able to do those things in a bit more quicker way, right? So whenever we are talking about async operations, as the timers and these things are initiated, how they are initiated, do you think? They are just initiated by using a particular thread pool, okay? So these are called as blocking operations. So thread pool takes care of, what kind of computation. So it also does the things, it also handles the events line by line, you can say, okay? One event after the other. So that is one of the drawback of node, you can say. It takes a bit of more time with this, as it is a thread pool, right? It initiates only single thread to do all the, you can say, the external resource or the blocking operations. So likewise, the computations or connecting with the database or fetching some file system, these all comes under the blocking operations. So what does it mean? We have these all types of events that it is going to segregate and handle the thing. By this, what happens? Whenever there is a simple request and response, so not much of blocking nature, then the node can execute them very faster because it is using REST APIs. What is the form of REST APIs? They just take care of, handling that particular request and response. Earlier, I've told you, like it just tried to check with this request and response and end that connection. So whenever there is a new request, it is another request that has been initiated, right? So as it is going to handle a state, it is not going to render the entire page. It will just pull the data and try to update that state. And that state is read by the front end code, and the front end code is trying to, manipulate the values of those JSON objects. So this is how the things will happen internally. I guess this was clear. So basically what you can say, node is nothing but a runtime environment where the JavaScript is run, where it is handling IO intensive, operations in these applications. Like you can say chat apps is nothing but IO. It is not having much of, connecting to some file or connecting to the database and giving you, the output. So these are kind of, non-blocking nature. So chat apps, as soon as you request a thing, you're getting a response, right? So these kind of things are IO intensive operations, you can say. IO intensive, input output intensive events, you can say. So I guess this was clear. What is IO operations or IO or non-blocking operations. So such kind of things or such kind of applications like chat apps or streaming apps. So these are nothing but IO operations. So whereas reading few files or connecting with the database, doing some kind of calculations, these all comes under, blocking operations, where a thread pool will be initiated and one by one all the events will be executed. This is how internally Node and Express are going to handle the things. That is the reason it is bit faster in performing the activities, or you can say the events at the back end. So basically it works on two things. It has two concepts that it, initiates, or you can say it has the ability. So it can, has the ability to handle the asynchronous model as well as non-blocking IO operations. So asynchronous are done by, we know that in normal JavaScript as well, we will write asynchronous, async await, you can say callback functions, promises, these all things can be handled in this particular blocking ones, right? So basically what it is doing, this Node and Express has some single thread event loop design, because internally when it comes with the blocking nature of events, it is going to initiate this single threaded, loop, and then it is going to handle. So by this, what happens? So as it is separated, both the types of operations are separated. The performance is more, and we can scale the application as well bit faster. Any doubt till here on the architecture of the node? Anyone? I was talking about the architecture, or internally how node is going to handle the things. Internally, when node is handling, it is nothing but Express. What is Express? We'll see in a while. It means Express is also, following the same as it is built out of. It is a web framework of the, node itself, right? So till here, I guess it was clear. So now what we will do, we'll understand why do we need node when we have these many modules, you can say. So when we have these many modules which are internally supporting node, you can say, so why do we need Express again, right? Why do we need Express? We have internally these many modules. We were talking about HTTP over here, right? So internally, as we are having these many modules, and why there is a necessity of Express in that case, right? So let me talk on this and let me explain you why do we need Express. So for example, if we just talk about if we take out a simple example, like we have a system, you can say we have a laptop, right? So CPU has many capabilities, or it can do many things. It can do calculations, it can do, it can do operations. Internally, the OS is handling, CPU and OS are handling many things. But alone CPU cannot do anything, right? Alone CPU cannot do anything. It has a capability, but it needs some other resources to, do those calculations and then, show the results. So likewise, if you talk about calculating two or adding two numbers, right? So we need an application called calculator, right? We need an application called calculator, and that application through which the user is inputting two values, and then the CPU is able to read those two values and then give the output for us. So it has the ability, but it itself cannot do anything. It needs some other tool to be used, right? So likewise, node has lot of capabilities. Okay, it helps us creating the server like this. It helps to handle the request response cycles, right? It can send the data in chunks. But node alone, if we are trying to write the code, this is a very simple one that we have written right now. It is a server which is only trying to send one particular file. If you think about a big application, when we are trying to create the server using this particular way of creating the server, we can do it. but node needs lot of things or lines of code will increase, it becomes difficult for the developer to write these things. You need to set the thing, you need to do lot many things. It needs lot of lines of code. It becomes difficult for the, the developers to handle those things. So whereas it is supported, okay, to overcome that, okay, not even creating the server, you can say, using this particular Express as a web framework. So what it does, it has internally many features. When we talk about features, it is nothing but not only creating the server, I can see it has internally many packages that supports and makes the things more easier for the developer. Okay, so now internally what the thing, if we are trying to create a server using Express, we will see. So internally, we are not going to use .create server, or, we are not going to create any server right now. We are trying to, we will be trying to understand on how to add a feature to the application, right? We will be working more on adding features to the application. So internally, Express is connecting with the node, and it internally is handling on how to create the server or in this way. Okay. So internally, it is creating using create server itself. But it left that part to itself, and it left, it allowed the developer to handle or care more about what features we want to add it in the application. That is the reason we have this particular Express as a framework, which helps to do things more easily. Okay. It helps the things to go in a smoother way, because the developer no need to worry about the things because of the features or, features that it has. That is what about Express. So it is nothing but an unopinionated web framework of Node.js. Okay, right? So likewise, I can show you right now. So as I've told you just now, it is a single threaded. Node is nothing but node architecture follows single threaded event loop, right? So, but as it doesn't support multi-threaded programming, right? So the computations, or you can say fetching the data, will be more, you can say it will be becoming bit risky for the things to handle when we write the code, right? So these are the few limitations. That's the reason we will be using Express as a framework to create APIs. That is nothing but the REST APIs. And then we will be creating on how to handle, how the things will be handled. We will be just trying to create the routes, and internally Express is creating the server and, making the things easier for the developer. So what is Express? It is nothing but a framework, right? So it is an unopinionated, it is nothing but, there is no particular, it depends upon you, how you want to use it. So with that, what we can do, it allows the developer to write minimum code as well. So it is a web framework of Node.js, right? It is nothing but, again, we are using the JavaScript itself. It has many features inside it, like, we are sending or creating the routing. It supports, because by using only Node, the routing part of creating the server and handling with the, you can say the routes becomes difficult. Whereas when we use this, it becomes easy. There are many middlewares which supports, not even, security. It has many middlewares which support, authorization, authentication, security. So all these can be handled by just creating few middlewares, and there is a particular flow of writing the code. So what is a framework basically? Whenever we talk about framework, it is nothing but it follows a structure. So using a framework, it gave a particular structure to us to write the code. Okay. So this way, so it helps the, server side development to be more faster with its features. It saves a lot of time. It has a lot of middlewares using which we can, handle this request response cycles more easily, and it supports more with routing. So creating of APIs has become more easy using the Express. So now what we will do, we'll try to create a server using Express and understand about Express. Okay. So I guess this much was clear till now. What I was talking about few of the modules, and we will see the different ways of installing or using the modules in the next session. I will talk on more modules on this. Okay. So there are few modules like file system. There are few modules like events. We can talk about, and which are the minimum things that you should know, because at the end you will be using the Express itself. Internally, how the things are handled, you should know, right? So what we will do, we'll try to create the server using this particular Express framework. Now, when we talk about Express, the very first thing, as it is a framework, what we need to do, we should try to install it first, right? So to install, what is a package, what is a command, right? So how to do that and on how to create it, let us see in a while. Any doubt till here? Anyone who wants to ask anything till here? Yes? We are looking at few of the modules over here. And then we are discussing about the, on how to create. In today's session, we are understanding on how to use Express and create a server. We have understood on how to create a server using the node itself. But now when you use Express, how the things will become easy, let us understand. Now observe here, as we need Express, right? So we will use the command npm install Express. Okay. It will be added into your dependencies. Fine. So now as we want to use it, what did I say? This is the another way of importing the things. So earlier till now we have imported using the import statement, right? It means we were using the ES module. Now let us try to use the common JS module, right? So whenever we use common JS module, what happens? We have to just use a require method and get that particular, dependency or a package, right? So let us see. That is nothing but you have to go to the type again into your package.json. So this type should be changed. Otherwise, what happens? You will get some error. Okay. So let us go over here and try to get it. Let us store into the same variable. So the Express is over here now, right? So now there is a particular flow. Framework is nothing but there is a particular flow. So whenever we have, installed, or you can say install this particular package, now we want to use it. So we have to create an Express app, right? So to create an Express app, you have to just call the Express variable that we have created. It means you are executing all the features of the Express into this particular app, right? So likewise, first we have to use Express, whatever we have installed just now, right? And then we have to store into a variable. So we can use any variable, but as we are creating an app or application, you can say we will be using the reading, according to the readability, we will use this variable. Okay. So now we want to use this particular Express to create an app. So we are understanding, as you know, what is REST architecture, right? We will be creating few routes now. Internally, how the server is created by the Express using Node HTTP. We are not going to create any server right now, but internally, actually, it is creating the server. But what we are concentrating on, let us see. Okay. So we have created this particular variable called app. We want to use it. Now, we want to use that and we want to create few routes, right? What did I say on that day when we were discussing about REST API? I told we are having few methods using which you can do CRUD operations, That is nothing but whenever you use a method called get, it means you are requesting a particular resource, right? You are reading from that particular request response cycle, right? So in that case, for example, there is a particular page inside which there is some data. So you can read that particular data using get. Whenever you want to add some data, you can use post. Whenever you want to update a particular value, then in that case, you can use put. Okay. Patch. There is also one more method called patch, which will only update, a part of that particular record. But whenever you use put, we can update the entire record as well. Okay. So because it recreates the thing, or you can say it recreates or reinitiate that particular object and create it. So likewise, we can use these methods and try to, do the CRUD operations. What is the meaning of CRUD operations? That is nothing but you are creating, reading, updating, and deleting the values from that particular object. Okay. So right now, we will try to create. Now, whatever I have created over here, this is nothing but called as a route. Okay. Now, did we create any server over here? No. We are trying to create the routes, and these routes are connected to your front end. Okay. In front end application, assume it is React. So in that case, in front end application as well, you will do CRUD operation. So that particular thing will be, initiated to this particular route, and then it will send the response. That is how internally the architecture is going to follow. The flow or the way of request response cycle will take place. Is it clear till here? Okay. So let us try to create an object like this. Let us create an object called customers and then try to use it. As it is a JSON object, right? As we want to use the JSON object, so we will be using express.json. Otherwise, it will not allow you to use this particular JSON object. Each and everything is a single JSON object, right? This is an array of these objects. So let us try to create this particular customers array over here. And then what we want to do, we want to use the JSON into this app. So in that case, we will use a method called use. Use is nothing but a middleware. Now, by just simply using this particular use middleware, internally Express is handling the things. It creates an application. So what does it do? What is this basically? It is a middleware. It is handling the things internally on how to, use this particular JSON, right? So likewise, we will try to use this using this app that we have created. We will use this middleware and try to use the JSON. So along with Express, we will try to use the JSON. So likewise, we need to call it. So this is how you can use the JSON over here. Now it will allow us to use the JSON. Now what we can do, instead of creating the routes, so create server, these all things we are not, bothering about right now. We will directly try on creating the routes, right? So the very first route, this is nothing but an API, you can say, right? So this is called an API. We are creating our first route. So the process of creating this routes is called as routing. Okay. Now I told you just now, Express framework will allow us to handle with routings in a more easier way, right? So likewise, here we are creating our first route, which is the route, you can say. So I'm using the same app.get. And what I'm trying to do, this is going to take two things. One is the route, and the other is what is the request and response that you want to send over here. So this is nothing but a callback again, right? So likewise, so whenever we hit this particular route, it means the request object is having some data with it. Okay. So the request object will have the data of headers, will have the data of the body, right? It is also, having those all data inside that object. So who is going to read this? The Express is going to read that and then give us the response to the particular client. Okay, it is able to get the resource, or you can say the details about the client, right? So in the request we have lot of data, so that data can be read by this particular route, the express route, and then it can send the data for us. So right now you can see we are not bothering about on how we are creating the I mean to say we are creating the server, right? So we are just creating a route over here, and internally Express is trying to handle all the things. So there is a request object. Whenever we start listening to that particular, whenever the server start listening to that particular port, it means it is going to have the information about the client, right? So request dot send. What did I say now? There are many methods over here that you can send. If you want to send directly the JSON data, then you can use response.send, response.json, right? There are many methods that you can use it over here. Now, as we are sending the plain text, so, right? So this is the first API that we have created. Okay. So now you can observe over here, whenever we are using, the express way of creating the APIs, then you no need to use the end ones. We will be using the send method over here. Now, obviously, we have to listen to that particular any port. By default, we will have 3000. Okay. So let's listen to the port over here. And then what we will try to do. Now, let me show you one other thing as well. Before I go to the next route, I can say. So let us use NodeMon as we have it. Okay. Okay. Now you can see file is a common JS module, right? So in this way, it gives the error for us. So in that way, we have to delete this particular ones and try to give the common JS ones. So once you make the changes, the Express app will start, and then we can try to go over here, try to refresh our page. So it means as soon as you start listening to this particular, whenever you start this route, right? So in that case, what happens? A request has been sent to that is sent, and then the server is able to give the response to the same client over here. So this way, we have not created any particular server over here, right? We are concentrating on how to handle or add features to our apps. Now over here, what we can do, we can create multiple routes. These are nothing but these could be pages. We can create multiple pages like that. It could be an about page. So likewise, this can be another route that we talk about. This can be about page. So whenever the user, or you can say the client, is requesting about page, this route will be connected, and obviously the response would be sent from the server. So likewise, whenever you go over here and give a slash, it means you have clicked this particular route from the client side, and as soon as we hit enter, it means the response is sent from the server. So likewise, we can think about on adding the functionality to our app by creating these APIs. I guess this was clear till here, right? So as we want to send the response of this particular customers, right? So we have created a JSON object right now. So to create this thing, you can create multiple, routes like this. We no need to bother about on how to handle this thing, right? So in that way, we can try to create different routes into this particular. We can give, many strings over here, and then you can try to create it. So right now I have given it like this. Now what we can do, instead of sending the string, we can directly send the entire array itself. So likewise, whenever you go over here and try to, give all the string that we have created. So likewise, it can read all the data. So this is how it is going to internally create the API. So are we bothering about creating the server like this? Are we bothering about see, if we try to create the server like this and add the functionalities, the lines of codes and the difficulty would be more for the developer. So when we use the Express, we can bother about the features or functionalities that we want to add into this app, use the middleware and try to do, the things more faster, which is also more secure because it internally is handling the things with the middleware, right? Any doubt till here? So let me show you one thing. So whenever we go over here, if I just type npm, the Express, right? npm Express. So as we have installed this package, right? This Express documentation, npm documentation itself is giving us a particular boilerplate to create an, the Express app, you can say. So you can understand, you can take up with this. This is the flow structure. It is said like this is the flow structure that we have to follow because it is a framework. It gives us the things like we have to start following few structure of creating the app. So you can read from this, okay? You can understand more in detail about this, right? So on how to use the Express. Okay. Any doubt till here? We can test the things using our this thing that we will discuss later. So that was all about on how to use different modules. So we will use this particular module and try to create a different module and use it in our app in the next session. So any doubts still here? So we discussed what is Node. We discussed few, packages that were published and then we have used them. We have used one of the core module. We tried to create a server. You know what is a server now? At the back end, how the Node and Express is following the architecture, right? And after that, what did we understood? So we created the server using HTTP module and tried to send the different types of data, like nothing but the plain text, or you can say the HTML type and the JSON type, right? So if this is the way, if you're trying to create these many routes, so this is nothing but the REST API, APIs that we have created, right? So in that way, it becomes more easy when we use the Express. So we understood why we need Express and how to create an Express app. Any doubt till here? Yes? Anyone? Any doubt till here? Anything that you want me to repeat till here? We'll discuss about on how to use a package, create our own package. We are creating our package, but on how to use it in the next session. Okay. Any doubt till here? Yes, you can create multiple routes like this. Okay. Now, what is, sending the dynamic routes? You can say dynamically, we can send some data, discuss about those things as well. Anything? Any doubt? Anybody who wants to speak anything? Any doubt till here? Are you following? Yes? No doubts? Anybody? So what is Express? I guess there's no doubt. Anybody who is new in the session, who didn't understand from the what we discussed in the last session? Sandhya, Priya, Venkat, Kirtana, Madhavi, Meghna, Maunika, Maurya Chandra. Yes, any doubt till here? Did you get to understand on how to create the Express app? Okay, so we will wind the session for today. And if any doubt, you can let me know, because these are the basics that we are discussing right now. Once we start with the actual concepts as well, right? So you need to keep practicing with these things. Anybody? Should we wind the session then?
Yes, Samita. Actually, I hope there is no more questions from the students.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the session. And the students, thank you for joining the session. Yeah, we'll wind up today and we'll meet on tomorrow.